Hey, this is pgosey with this week's discussion on defining games. So basically, this uh, report sort of thing had just a bunch of people talking about their different interpretation of what a game was and how they would sort of define it and everything. So basically, they had a bunch of different ideas, but overall, they pretty much came to similar conclusions. That most of them agreed that pretty much the game, to be a game, it needs some set of rules and some goal that you're ultimately trying to achieve. Like there's like a defined space, the magic circle that like a game takes place in, and it's they call it sort of magic because it just depending on what you're doing, how where you're playing the game, like this place that had no significance before can have all the significance now, or vice versa. Like something that if it was very significant has no meaning now, just depending on the game and how you're playing. So basically, all their discussions, they all decided that pretty much that it had that space, and there are certain rules inside that space which you had to abide by so that the game has some sort of structure, something to follow. There's also, like I said, there's some ultimate goal that they were trying to achieve. Like, say, like you're playing checkers to take all the other players' pieces off the board, like something like that. There is an objective, like a certain way to win the game. Um, I also said there was some kind of like a conflict contest sort of thing where like uh it was you trying to sort of outsmart the other person or use strategy to figure out what was best for you, how to overcome whatever the challenge and obstacle were. So I'm trying to figure out how to relate that to music. And what I came up with was it's basically we're defining games, and a lot of the things they discussed I can really you can attribute it to playing a live show in a band. Like there's like okay, so like the magic circle sort of concept that I picture that as like the stage, like when it doesn't really have any meaning, when like no one's on it, nothing's there. It's just kind of some wood on a platform. Like there's really no significance to it until people get out there, and depending on who's out there, like if you're like you go to a venue, tons of different bands of all shapes and sizes and varieties and levels have played on that stage. So really, depending on who's up there playing what, it changes the meaning of the stage. Because to some people, if it's a band they really like they're really excited, and that's like the focus of all their attention. But it's a band you don't like, then you're not really paying attention. Like the stage isn't important. So I sort of pictured that as kind of the whole magic circle thing. And then like there's an ultimate goal to get to, and there's different ways of getting there. Like the strategies, I pictured that as playing the set, like playing a song. Like the ultimate goal of the set is to give an experience to the audience. Like you want your listeners to have a good time and enjoy and have fun. Like you want to be up there having fun too. But the ultimate goal would be to play a good show, like at the very end. That's so like I picture that as a game, and there's strategy along the way through. The logic is okay, like we're going to play these songs in this order, and just be based on like okay, your thought process of okay, like here's a fast song. Like in the middle we'll play a slow song. Like we'll end on this song because it's like everyone knows this song. It's like our most like upbeat song. Just there's a whole like stream of logic behind like what order you play everything in, when you play it, what you do while you play it. Like no one wants to go up there and just see a band stand there just like do. No, they want to see like jamming out, rocking out, you know. So yeah, there's that, and sort of in the whole like conflict sort of thing, you're kind of the music is a business of criticism. So I guess like what the opposing team sort of would be the audience, because like in the way I see it, to win the game, you have to win over the audience, and that's just basically if like they all like it, everybody's like clapping and cheering, having a good time. But really, they're when people are listening to you, the whole time they're criticizing you. They're like, okay, what do I like? What do I not like? And people, a lot of the times, people tend to draw out the bad more than the good. So it's really, if you're up there, you're not like, you don't do songs in a pleasing order that like is pleasing to the ear, that kind of keeps like a constant flow. Or if you're just not playing the songs well, like you got everyone's getting off beat and everything, then the listeners aren't going to enjoy that. That's not going to be fun for them. So that's pretty much that's how I sort of picture the conflict and just kind of like with the whole rules, like playing a show, there's it's just like there's certain things you kind of do and don't do. It's more like in getting prepared, like or knowing what to do in certain situations. Like the first time I ever played a show, it was in January, so all our gear was sitting in the back. And when it was time for us to go on, we brought our stuff out, and under the stage lights, it was really warm. So we were inexperienced. We hadn't played a show before. So after about like the second song, the heat stretched out the wood and the instruments, which causes them to go out of tune. So at that point, I was not prepared for that. So I did not have a tuner pedal. It's just like a pedal you step on and it turns the tuner on for you. So it's hooked into like all your pedals or everything. So you don't need to like stop, unplug, plug a tuner in and everything. So just kind of like there are like certain rules you abide by. Like everyone should have like a tuner pedal. You should be prepared for like situations like, okay, that happens. You know how to quickly like get it back in tune. Like other things like the rules you follow would be like you don't want to offend anybody. You don't want to like say something that's going to deter people from listening to the rest of your set. Like if you like a lot of the times like you don't want to like admit like a political affiliation or anything like that on stage. You don't want to talk about that sort of thing because then people will be like, oh, well, like they said something about this guy. I mean, just like common sense sort of things, but I've seen it happen, and it's just like it gets very unpleasant at that point. So just kind of the certain rules like that, and that's all the comparisons I could draw between like how defining a game and how like the music, like playing a show, could be considered a game. So I'll see you guys next week.